Hey folks, welcome back to Let's Play Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. I'm Nai. We've done just about everything I want to do in this patch of grass, so I think it is time for us to continue going on down this cycling road-like area. I'm trying to get this controller comfortable in my hand. All Pokemon are unique. Even Pokemon of the same species and level grow at different rates, which adds up over time. Very true. Okay, I think we have found just about everything that can be found in the tall grass, but we still have stuff in the water we have to find. There's a guy over there with a Primeape. I think we're gonna go deal with that now. Oh, and got a rare candy. I wonder how easy it is to find rare candies otherwise. Catching Pokemon, try to throw your Pokeball inside the colored ring. Okay. So, so who am I leading off with right now? I need to revive Haunter. I keep on thinking, like, I'm gonna raise Haunter. And I was like, that's the wrong game, Nye. So, doing some shopping. So, it's... I commented on this in a couple episodes ago, but I, decided that I was not gonna go out shopping on Black Friday, which, coincidentally, is today. I'm not interested. There's very little that I want that's out there. But the one thing I do kind of need right now that I've decided I might pull the trigger on is I need a new graphics card. The graphics card I have is about 5 years old, which I've been told is not old in graphics card years, but it is having some definite issues, and so it needs to be replaced, which that happens. So I'm kind of looking at getting another graphics card, replacing the one I have. It's going to be kind of weird because the card that I have is a AMD card. The card I'm probably going to switch to is an NVIDIA card. I've had NVIDIA in the past. In fact, the card I had prior to having the AMD card was an NVIDIA card. But I'm going to have to install all new software. It's going to be a whole pain in the ass. I'm not looking forward to this. Good thing is, it comes with a free copy of Monster Hunter World. So I'm trying to decide, like, I already have Monster Hunter World on the PS4. I don't know if I'm going to play it again on PC. I even did a series on it, which you guys probably saw. So the question is, like, do I want to keep that copy, or do I want to see if I can sell it to a friend and kind of make some of this money back? So that's kind of on my mind. I also am thinking about, I need some more RAM in my computer. I've been running off of 16 gigs for a very long time. I'm thinking that, like, 32 gigabytes may be a good thing just for, speed purposes. So I'm trying to decide, do I want to pay, the RAM that I need. You got to get apparently the same type of RAM that you already have. The RAM that I need is not on sale. So I'm trying to decide with myself, like, do I want to buy the RAM that I need, which is another $100. And then the other thing is a monitor. So the monitor that I'm using, it's actually the monitor that I currently have set up. I have this really weird computer set up. So I have 3 monitors. I actually need them. Like, this is not one of those things like I have them for fun. I kind of actually need them. So my PC, my desktop, the one that I do, like, my gaming on and stuff like that, this PC is hooked up to 3 monitors. And, one monitor typically is what I kind of, watch my recording software on. It's what I keep my eye on. It allows me to kind of see how long my episode has been and still allow me to play a full screen game. All of that, very good stuff that's important, right? I also have a monitor that I typically dedicate to having, like, a web browser on when I record. And then, I also will generally have, like, a, Discord is up on, one of these monitors, to allow me to kind of make sure the Discord is working when I have guests on. It's, kind of this whole thing. When I'm playing a game and I'm not recording, I'll typically have, like, Discord or a chat program up on one monitor while I have a browser up on the other monitor. This actually gets kind of important when I'm playing something like Final Fantasy, just because I might be looking up a walkthrough, or might be looking up crafting timers or something like that. And then on the other monitor, I'll have YouTube running. So I have different things running at all times. But when I said I need it, I actually wasn't joking. This is actually something I'm going to need for work. So for work, I do a lot of data entry and data manipulation, which means that I need to have at least 2 monitors. One for the work that I'm actually working on right now, and one for whatever I'm copying or the notes that I'm running off of, or kind of stuff like that. So I need to be able... That's not good. I need to be able to actually see this information. So... Oh, I don't know. Okay. I need to actually be able to see this information. It is actually moderately important that I can see things. But I'm about to be working for a new client who sends us, like, a laptop just for them. And so I'm going to have a setup that allows me to get that laptop also on something. I mean, I could work just off that laptop, but that's kind of a pain in the ass. Especially with how my desk is laid out. I don't really have a lot of places to put that laptop. So it's more convenient to be able to, like, slide it underneath one of my monitors and just kind of work off of it. So, you know, when I'm not doing that, I have 2 monitors dedicated to whatever I'm working on work-wise, and then my desktop computer is working on the 3rd monitor by itself. You know, as a... Yeah, Megamite's evolving. As kind of a, you know, a safety thing, I don't want to do my personal stuff on my work laptop. This includes things like banking, things like that. Don't want to chit-chat with my friends. You know, I want my work laptop to be just work. I'm not adding anything else to it. So I also do not, you know, I want to have that dedicated monitor. So I need, 3 monitors. So the monitor that I'm using right now, which, again, is what I'm actually, like, monitoring the recording on. The monitor that I'm using right now, I guess I'll swap out Sonic Boom for this, is old. I've had this monitor for probably 15 to 17 years now. I used to have 2 of them, and one of them finally died on me earlier this year. Drill Run. A drilly move has a higher chance of scoring a crit. Neat. Let's go ahead and, raise Haunter again. But I've had this monitor for years and years and years, and it's a problem for me for a couple of reasons. The biggest reason is that it's getting old. Actually, some of the buttons on it are no longer working, which is kind of a pain in the butt. In order to manually swap it from one source to another, I need to, you know, press the menu button twice. But the menu button is starting to not read. Pikachu telling me there's a thing around here. Hey, cool. Yeah, that's what he was talking about. Okay. The menu button is starting to not read inputs anymore, which is kind of a problem. It's making it harder to switch from one input to another, to actually be able to, like, switch from my work computer to my desktop on input. The other thing with this thing is, for some reason, this particular monitor seems to have trouble. Don't throw the game. Throw Pokeballs instead. Okay. The monitor all seems to have some issues. For some reason, I couldn't tell you what's actually going on here, but it seems to have trouble automatically detecting there's an input. So the monitor is more likely to sit on a black screen than it is to know that it needs to switch inputs. And it actually causes a problem because it sends a signal to my graphics card telling my graphics card to switch inputs, then doesn't. Which, so, you know, if you've ever done something like when you're switching, like, adding a new monitor, you know that the monitors go black as the graphics card recalibrates to decide what it's sending. And so it'll do the recalibration, but nothing shows up on the monitor. Colors are also off on this monitor. Like, it's an old monitor. This thing weighs like 10 pounds. It's heavy. You know, it's a total pain in the ass. It also rests at a higher height than my other monitors and is also smaller than my other monitors. So for all of these reasons, it's getting old. So I'm thinking about buying a 3rd of the same monitor I already have, which is currently on sale. But at the same time, though, this monitor, while it's giving me some, you know, pains, is working. Like, it's not broken. So I also have that, you know, definite feeling of, you know, frugality of, you know, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. So I'm trying to decide what I want to do. You know, I may want to... Don't use a full restore, you jerk. So I'm just trying to decide, you know? I'm trying to decide, do I want to do it? What do I want to pull the trigger on? I mean, the graphics card is kind of a no-brainer. That's going to happen basically no matter what. But the RAM is more of a, like, it's not on sale, and the RAM is definitely a, I forget what submission actually does. User grabs target, recklessly dives to the ground. Oh, okay, it's one of those. I think we're going to go ahead and swap out Brick Break. So I'm trying to decide, am I going to make the purchase? I wasn't going to go out for Black Friday, but I may take advantage of Black Friday sales. And again, this is only because this is something that I actually kind of need, you know? I mean, need is a very strong word when it comes to something like this. You know, I don't need this. It's just I need this. God, there are a lot of Pokemon on this route. I'm caught completely unawares about this. There's a lot of trainers here. There is a water portion of the route to our south, and that's actually where we're heading. There are a couple of water Pokemon on that route that I need to go catch. There's an Executor. We've only seen like an Execute so far. I always found Executor was always this weird, goofy-looking Pokemon. Like, what do you do with that? You know, how are you supposed to? And also, it's Psychic Plant. Where did they look? I understand where they got the idea for Execute and Executor for the actual joke behind, you know, Execute and Executor. The actual pun I really enjoy. So I get it. You know, I get it. But number one, how do you get the visual? I understand the visual design by Execute. It's a carton of eggs. I got it. But how do you take Execute and go from that to whatever Executor is actually supposed to be? I think I've been told what type of plant it's actually supposed to be, but the plant actually normally has a longer, like, trunk to it, which is why the Alolan form looks so damn goofy and has that super long neck. But it is definitely one of those kind of, good job, great work. But it's definitely one of those, like, it has no arms. Where did that decision come from? Is the body supposed to be a trunk, or is it supposed to be scaled, which is what I think it looks like? Like, it's just kind of that weird, like, how did you get this idea? And then, of course, the other thing is, how did it go? Plant makes sense. Why did it go Psychic Plant? You know, I think the thing that we have eventually got to was that the developers, when they made the decision with Psychic Plant, they just went, we don't have a Psychic Plant. We don't have that combination. Therefore, let's rock. It's just some of the design decisions are so weird. I'd love to see the notes. I really would. Like, I am partially fascinated. You know, fascinated in a small way. But I'm fairly well fascinated with, you know, blueprints and designs, and stuff of that nature. I like seeing how people's minds work. I love following thought processes. You know, one thing, you look gentle. I think I can beat you. Good luck with that. You know, I enjoy in a rather large way. I really enjoy the etymology of words. You know, I love following how a word has evolved over the years. You guys may remember this. There was this book that I did not really want water gun. There was this book that came out a number of years ago called Frindle, which I really enjoyed, and it wasn't highlighted how right this book was until a couple of years later, where the internet really took off and stuff like this actually started happening. So Frindle was kind of an interesting thing. During a class, this kid was taught that words are what we make them, and that if people decide to use a word, they can create that word, and the word becomes real. And so, okay, Blastoise, don't do any work today. So the kid decides that he's going to create a new word, so he starts calling, I think it was pens, Frindle. You know, hey, can I borrow a Frindle? And it starts out by his teachers being really annoyed at him, telling him to, you know, cut it out, stop doing that. But the kids start picking up on it and start using the word too, Frindle, Frindle. So it goes on. There's this whole, you know, this whole plot about him trying to get the word accepted, things like that. And then you get to the end of the book, and he's, you know, he's grown up. He's a grown-up man, and he created an entire company, like, called Frindle Ballpoint Pens or something like that. He's very successful, and his teacher actually sends him a card. You know, no, his teacher sends him a, like, Webster's dictionary with the word Frindle circled in red ink. Kind of indicating you finally did it. You know, this nonsense word that you came up with as a child has finally become an official word. And I thought that was the coolest idea back in the day, that simply by using something, by, you know, saying a word and by doing it, we can actually create something for real. We can create a word for real. But I didn't at the time think it was actually something you could do. Like, as a kid, you think that all the words that are out there are all the words that are out there. You know, you hear, like, you know, Shakespeare creates words, and you're like, man, I can create a word. But what I've noticed is that people that create words, it tends to sound like nonsense. I was watching a YouTube episode of a series recently, and the guys I was watching were actively trying to create a word. But it wasn't working. You know, they were doing what most people do when they try to create a word. They put together some nonsense syllables, and the problem is they sound like nonsense syllables. You know, it was, you know, jing jang juice and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, that sounds like, you know, a child talking. You know, when we sit here, I don't know if this is something that it's an English thing, but, you know, I've grown up hearing English for one. But also it's like when I grew up, my English classes were talking about how you identify, you know, root words, and, you know, was giving us a lot of information on, you know, on Latin sources of words and things like that. How English has, you know, taken words from, you know, Spanish and French and, you know, so on and so forth. A lot of our words are from the Romantic languages, but we do have words from, you know, Germanic. We have, you know, English steals words from everywhere, obviously. But it was very much this, you know, this thing that, okay, so I can kind of recognize a word, and, you know, I always had a talent for, like, okay, I get an idea of what that actually word means based on the identifiable root word that I can figure out. But the problem is that it also makes made-up words sound made up. Like, that's kind of the flip side of it. If a word doesn't have a, you know, a language origin that I can identify, then the word just ends up sounding made up. So I have a hard time sitting here going, you know, yeah, we can make up words, right? We can come up with new words, because I have yet to hear a word that is not in, like, everyday use that didn't sound, oh, that's what I'm looking for. Come here, Staryu. That didn't sound made up. Now you're gonna sit here and you're immediately gonna go, well, what about Google, Nye? What about Googling it? And it's like, well, so here's the problem. When I was in, I think it was 2nd grade, my math teacher's last name was Google. Now I can't remember how she, I can't remember how she actually spelled it, but we were taught that, you know, a Google is, I forget what it is, 1 followed by so many zeros. But we actually learned the definition of Google because she wanted us to know that there was this cool math-related thing related to her name. Now, I didn't really realize until years after Google became a thing that it is not actually the same spelling of Google as the math, the actual, like, the number name. But I was not... Oh, okay, that was convenient. I was not, Google didn't sound like a made-up word because it was actually related to a word that I was familiar with. Yahoo was not a made-up word to me because I was familiar with the actual term Yahoo. Like, not only the term of excitement, Yahoo, but also they look at those Yahoos. Like, it was a word that I was fairly familiar with. As long as that intersection is unharmed, this Pokemon can grow back fully even if it's chopped into bits. Hey, it makes it really easy for us to make sushi. That would be unnecessarily cruel. Don't do that. But I don't think I've heard a word that is made up that wasn't easily identifiable as a made up word. And this gets kind of, okay, so first of all, yes, every word is made up. Okay, now let's move on. Let's not be needlessly pedantic about it. But when I say made up word, what I mean is a word that is actually, not a legitimate and widely used, term for something, Was there anything else on this route that I actually needed to pick up? I think the Staryu was it. I think we're done. So I enjoy following the etymology of words because nowadays, there's all these terms that we see in that show up from the internet. Things like lol, LOL, laughing out loud is actually a legitimate term nowadays. It is actually like it's in the dictionary. Like that's kind of the thing that we have reached at this point. And it's not a bad thing. Like don't take it as me saying that's a bad thing. These words have become real through the mass use of people, which, as I said, is the kind of the coolest thing to me. If I really no, I want you to move down, please. If you really think about it, these words have become real. That's why that's why it was so interesting when the Wii came out. I forget. Oh, I can't remember the name. What the Wii's project name was off the top of my head. All these companies, these big tech companies, they always have a project name for whatever they're working on, right? So, the Kinect at the time was Project Natal, and the Xbox One was Project Scorpion, and the GameCube was Project Dolphin. I can't actually remember what the Wii was. But all I remember is that we thought the name was really cool, and then Nintendo said, okay, the name is the Wii, W-I-I, and the internet blew up making fun of that name. Because, it sounds like a couple different words. It sounds like small, it sounds like, the name for urine. It sounds like all these names, but Nintendo's statement was, we wanted a word that doesn't mean anything. We want to define a meaning for that word. Which is interesting, because when you think about Nintendo's competition, you have the PlayStation. Okay, just want to dodge around y'all and go fight this trainer. But you have the PlayStation, a station where you play. Got it. We have the Xbox. It is a box with an X on it. Got it. So, there is preconceived notions for these words. Like, we know what these words mean. They have meaning, and there is baggage that comes with that meaning. That baggage may be positive, it may be negative. It's kind of hard to say, because it depends on the word, but every word has a connotation of some sort. I want you to think about, like hemorrhage. When do you hear the word hemorrhage with a positive connotation? When are you happy to hear the word hemorrhage, people tend to have a fairly negative reaction to the word moist. That's not a word people like. It's a fairly negative word for a lot of people. So there's these words. It's kind of interesting that Nintendo created this brand new thing. They said, okay, the Wii, W-I-I. The two I's were meant to be two people. So it was meant the idea to, play with a group. And if you ever go back and watch the original Wii commercials, you'll see two, I forget, I don't know if it was actually Iwata in it, but you see two Japanese men that go to a bunch of families, and they lead the commercial with the phrase, "We would like to play." And so you play on the Wii, and then after they do the commercial, at the very end, they show the word "we" on screen, and the two eyes bow as the men did in the commercial. So it gets it does get the impression that the two eyes are actually people, and you're meant to play together. Which is why there was kind of the weirdness when it came to the Wii U, because you had the concept of multiple people playing, but also the one person playing on the tablet. Which I understand why they did it, but that's why it always fascinates me, like the etymology of words, because everything comes from somewhere. These words, there was a source at some point. At some point, someone made up that word, and they had an idea behind it. It was used for a reason, and it's so cool because that might not be what it's used for anymore. So it kind of cracks me up that if you go look in the dictionary for literally now, if I remember correctly, Webster's dictionary actually includes the definition metaphorically for literally. And it used to be that those two terms were opposites. Metaphorically and literally did not mean the same thing, but because so many people have misused the word literally to mean metaphorically, it has now reached a point where that is an accepted definition of the word, except for, English majors who are pissed off about the fact the word got misused to a point where it created the definition of it. But again, from an etymological, I'm hoping that's right, etymological standpoint, it's fascinating watching that cultural shift on that word. And it's definitely a how do people think thing. How do people think in general? What's up, Pikachu? Pikachu swaying along with the wind. Oh, you have fun with that. Did not need. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go up to Lavender Town. I have basically done everything I need to do on every route I can access that is not actually progressing the game. I mean, I say not progressing the game, but we just got ourselves up to how much in the Pokedex? We should be close to 100 now. So that got us to 91. Okay, we didn't progress as much as I wanted. But that got us to 91. So we are doing pretty good when it comes to the Pokedex. A lot of the stuff that we're still waiting on are evolutions. Like, there are very few base level Pokemon that we do not have at this point, so we're definitely advancing. But yeah, I definitely enjoy, I definitely enjoy figuring out the origin of words. I enjoy kind of reading, especially when it comes from other languages, because then you get the other language involved too. What's going on with you? That tea you have looks awfully tasty. You can absolutely have this tea. So this guard would always, if I had bothered to come here before now, this guard would have blocked me, and he would have said something like, "Man, I'm awfully thirsty. By the way, this road's closed." As soon as, and all the guards would say it. That's why he's saying he's going to share it with all the guards. Any of the guards would say it. As soon as Chad gave me the tea back in Celadon City, I could have at any time come to Saffron City. But there were other things to do first. But hey, now we're in Saffron City. Saffron City is actually fairly large. And you'll notice that Team Rocket is everywhere, because apparently Saffron City belongs to them. Now, we're going to have to fix that, aren't we? I'm not very cool with that. Don't say a word. I wanted this. Hey, TM40 Psychic. Apparently I'm Psychic. I knew where to go. Man, we have a lot of the TMs. We're doing really well on TMs right now. I'm actually mildly curious how many we have. So that's the south exit. There's the Pokemon Center. Let's go heal up. And also figure out who's here. I wonder if we're going to end up seeing another move for Pikachu anywhere. I think we're probably done, honestly. I don't expect us to get any additional moves for Pikachu. Okay. Well, when we come back next time, guys, we have to explore Saffron City. There's a lot to do here, lots of people to talk to, and lots of things to do. I thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you guys next time.